First, I have to make a correction because Elon said I was born in the United States. I was born in Lithuania, in the city of Kauno. I came to the United States as a boy and received my schooling in the United States, went to university in the United States, served in the American Army during World War II. So I have a good American education, but my roots are Litvak roots. No denying that. Now let me start with two excuses. One, I have not had a chance to read this book. I intend to read it tonight, but I've seen it for the first time only today, so that I cannot refer directly to, I'm sure, the very important things that Ori has included in this book. And secondly, my background is in engineering. I'm an aeronautical engineer. I've never studied political science. Ori is a PhD in political science, so that I cannot and won't try to relate to the theoretical definitions of what is a nation. Ori has done that this evening. I will just give you a layman's view, or if you like, an engineer's view of the subject, of one of the subjects of this book. And I will not talk about Yaasin, although of course it is a very important event, as was pointed out by Ori tonight, and I'm sure it's pointed out in the book. The event itself, the battle that took place for Yaasin, but in historical perspective, maybe even more important, the propaganda, the blood libel that was leveled against the Etzel and Melechi, the super inflated figures on the number of Arabs that were killed in the battle, massacred in quotation marks, that clearly had an effect on the exodus of many of the Arabs living in the area during that time, and that of course has had a historical impact on the future of the State of Israel. So I will restrict my remarks, my short remarks, to the question of the Palestinian nation. And as I said, from a very pragmatic and, if you like, empirical point of view. Who are the Palestinians? From my, if you like, simple-minded point of view, I will say anybody who insists that he is a Palestinian, as far as I'm concerned, he's a Palestinian. I think that's a definition that I would generally apply across the board, and maybe some in the audience here might object, but I would apply it also to Jews. Somebody says he's a Jew, as far as I'm concerned, he's a Jew, I'm prepared to welcome him. So if somebody says he is a Palestinian, let him be a Palestinian. Who can change that? Who can change that view that he has of himself? But since when have people been saying that they are Palestinians? When did all this start? So I tell you nothing new, that at the UN Partition Resolution of November 1947, there was no mention of Palestinians. Right? The land of Israel, Eretz Israel, was supposed to be divided, according to that resolution, into a Jewish state, an Arab state, not a Palestinian state, an Arab state, and an international zone around Jerusalem. I should have said right from the beginning that the concept of the Palestinian nation translated into a definition of the conflict here as being a conflict between Israel and the Palestinians has been for many years now a very effective tool. A very effective tool in order to try to cut Israel down to size, in order to gain popular support throughout the world for the Palestinians, and skepticism, and if you like, dislike and even distaste and hatred of Israel. Because what started in the minds of people throughout the world in 1948, but even in the years before, as a conflict between Jews and Arabs, a conflict in which the Jews obviously were the underdog, 40 million today, of course many more, all mobilized against this small Jewish community in the land of Israel, was turned on its head when the conflict has begun to be, as it is to this day, defined as a conflict between Israel and the Palestinians. And then the conflict between Israel, as defined as one between Israel and the Palestinians, Israel suddenly becomes the giant and the underdog are the small Palestinian people who are suffering from the Israeli occupation. So this business about the Palestinian nation is no small matter. And even if you agree with me that if anybody who defines himself as being a Palestinian might just as well be considered a Palestinian, and there are many, as you know, many today who define themselves as being Palestinians, it is something that has a very important, a significant impact on the situation of Israel today and the conflict that continues for so many years, and I would dare say will probably continue for many years to come. So at the UN Partition Resolution, obviously as far as the world was concerned, there was no Palestinian nation. It was an Arab state that the UN wanted to establish, and at the time I suppose it would have been the 12th or 13th Arab state in the world, and now it would be the 22nd or 23rd Arab state, part of an array of Arab states that exist in the Middle East and North Africa. Something that was very poignantly referred to, by the way, in Jabotinsky's testimony before the Peel Commission back in 1937, when he pointed out that what was being argued for by those who supported the Arab cause was the establishment of a 7th or 8th Arab state, and he said, who knows in the future, maybe a 12th or 13th Arab state, whereas what we the Jews are asking for is one state that we can call our own. And he made a very eloquent reference before the Peel Commission to the novel, Dickens' novel, Oliver Twist. And he recalled to the Commission that little Oliver in the orphanage, after the orphans were given their daily lunch, amazed the people in charge by asking for more. And he said he wasn't asking for more. He was just asking for the minimum that every young child, the minimum nutrition that every young child needs and deserves. And he said, we the Jews, we're not asking for more. We're asking what every nation in the world today feels is rightfully his, namely a state of their own. I tell you nothing new when I say that during the War of Independence, when the Jordanians occupied Judea and Samaria, again you see the importance of terminology when people insist on calling it the West Bank, and I suppose every geographer will agree that the West Bank is all of the area west of the Jordan River. It doesn't stop at the Arn's lines of 1949. But they don't want to use the word Judea and Samaria because it is a reminder of the historic connection between the Jewish people and this land. So the Jordanian army, the Arab Legion at the time, the Jordanian army, if you like, under Glab Pasha, invaded the area on the 15th of May, captured Judea and Samaria, did not declare a Palestinian state in the area, but quite the contrary, annexed the area to Jordan, insisted that it was part of Jordan, and provided Jordanian citizenship for all of the Arabs living in the area. In the south, the Egyptians, who also invaded on the 15th of May, and after the arms agreements were left in charge, or occupied the Gaza Strip, did not offer the Gaza Strip as a home or a state for the Palestinians, but simply continued with Egyptian administration in the area until the Six-Day War. So, and nobody objected. And there was no call for the establishment So if we look back in recent history, when did the notion of Palestinians as a separate national entity gain prominence? I'm not a historian, again I can't say when did it originate. Well, when did it gain prominence? It gained prominence with the establishment of the PLO, the Palestine Liberation Organization, under Yasser Arafat, in the year 1964. So we would like to, we try to date the origin of this notion that has become so widespread and so generally accepted, rather than in Israel itself, not only throughout the world. I suppose 1964 would be the appropriate date. And to that date of 1964, I suppose you might then go on 14 years later, 1988, the year in which King Hussein of Jordan announced that Jordan was abdicating its responsibility for the area of Judea and Samaria, in effect was severing its connection with the population living there, and was turning them over to the charge of Yasser Arafat and the Palestine Liberation Organization. So what King Hussein had insisted was an integral part of Jordan, and the people there being part of the Jordanian nation, allocated seats in the Jordanian parliament. Because of the turn of events, that relationship was severed unilaterally by the Jordanians, who didn't, of course, ask the Palestinians what they thought about it. What the leaders of the PLO, what Yasser Arafat thought about the connection with Jordan, we know only too well, because on Black September in 1970, the PLO tried to take over Jordan. And so at the time, maybe they do to this day, although we don't hear them talking about it, for reasons that we all understand, they see Jordan as being part of the Palestinian state that they would like to establish. So if you accept my definition of a Palestinian being anybody who insists that that's what he is, a Palestinian, not just an Arab, but a Palestinian. So who are they? Well, they would then be, I suppose, most of the population, most of the Arab population in Judea and Samaria, the population in Gaza, those who are classified as Palestinian refugees, those people, Arabs who left the area during the War of Independence, and their children and their grandchildren, and I suppose by now their great-grandchildren as well. The Palestinians living in Jordan, and many would add the Arabs living in the state of Israel. I suppose that many of them as well classify themselves as Palestinians. I think not all, but certainly many of them. I might add, parenthetically, that the radical Arab leadership in the state of Israel, who in my view do not represent all of the Arab population in Israel, but the radical leadership as represented by Arab Knesset members, who try to spread their umbrella over all of the non-Jewish population living in the state of Israel, insist that Palestinians are not only Palestinians in the narrow sense of the word living in Israel, that the Bedouin living in Israel, there are in Israel today over a quarter million Bedouin, they are also Palestinians as far as they're concerned. The Druze, as far as they're concerned, are also Palestinians. They don't ask the Druze, they don't ask the Bedouin, although they've made very serious inroads into the Bedouin community in Israel, especially in the south. As far as they're concerned, they are Palestinians as well. Well, Jordan, majority of the population in Jordan today are Palestinians. The rest are Bedouin. If for a moment we were to accept this definition of Israel's Arab leaders that Bedouins are Palestinians as well, then you could conclude that 100% of the population of Jordan are Palestinians. If not, so it's 65 or 70%. So Jordan is a Palestinian state in everything but name. I know that the Jordanian leadership, King Abdullah II, they would like to hear it. And I understand in Jordan stories is considered to be subversive propaganda. And we know the reasons why they don't like to hear it. Because they are concerned about the longevity of the Hashemite monarchy in Jordan. They're concerned about the Palestinians taking over Jordan. And concerned for good reason. And in the short term, I have to add, we in Israel are concerned as well. Because the current leadership, the present leadership in Jordan, cooperates with Israel on security matters, has an effective military and secret service organization that suppresses terrorist activity originating from Jordan directly against Israel. So this, of course, is to our benefit, and all that might change, and might change radically, if the Palestinians were to take over Jordan. In the long term, that might be another matter. What is the importance of the statement that Jordan is a Palestinian state? Some people prefer to say Jordan is Palestine. It's not unimportant, because again, one of the main arguments put forth for the Palestinian cause, one of the main arguments put forth against the state of Israel, is that the Palestinians are people without a state of their own. Self-determination. Every nation deserves self-determination. Every nation deserves a state of its own. Well, the Palestinians have a state of their own. It's called Jordan. Like it or not, they have a state of their own. That does not mean to say... That does not mean to say that there cannot be a second Palestinian state. We have today in North Korea and South Korea. We had, until some years ago, in East Germany and West Germany. There's no law of nature that says there cannot be an East Palestinian state and a West Palestinian state. It's not impossible. But the argument that's put forth that is very effective in many circles throughout the world, that this is a people without a state of their own, is an argument that is based on false grounds. They have a state of their own. So maybe there can be or will be a second Palestinian state, maybe even a third Palestinian state in Gaza. Because the gap between the Palestinian leadership in Judea and Samaria, Hamas and his people, and the Palestinian leadership in Gaza is a very wide gap. Nobody seems to know when and if at all that gap can be closed. By the way, I think it would be correct to say that there is a Palestinian state today in Gaza. In the sense that here is a piece of territory populated by Palestinians, run by Palestinians. And they complain that they're blockaded, and they complain that they're underfed, and they complain about the situation that they're in. But Hamas runs the Gaza Strip, which, to my mind, is a Palestinian state. By the way, already the second Palestinian state already exists. One in Jordan, one in Gaza. And so the demands made by people in Judea and Samaria on behalf of the Palestinians is really a demand for a very Palestinian state. So this short survey telling, I'm sure, nothing new, things that all of you know too well. Some of it probably mentioned in Ori Blostein's book. I would conclude whatever I want to say to you tonight. We have been turned from the underdog to the giant. The Arabs, by being projected into the Palestinian entity, have been turned from the giants into the underdog. It has become part of the campaign to delegitimize the state of Israel. But I say to you with full confidence that just as the Arabs did not succeed in warfare against the state of Israel, did not succeed in acts of terror that were meant to undermine the state of Israel, not succeed in trying to delegitimize the state of Israel under the banner of establishing a state for the Palestinians. Thank you very much.